Morning, folks. How's it going? So this is the finished Bass Raider Rhino. I guess I'll start at the front and work my way around and show you a few little things, modifications I've done and whatnot. Got this about a month and a half ago. I spent 3.5 weeks or so working on it, getting it ready. I got a smoking deal on the boat. It came just as the boat, nothing else. Well, not nothing else. Came with a couple seats, a swivel that I sold for very cheap because I'll never use it, and a trolling motor actually that I also won't be using too much. But it's good to have. I'm thinking it might be good for assisted rowing, kind of like you have the pedal assist on bikes nowadays. You know, but in a heavy headwind or something, it might help. But for the most part, not using it. So I don't even have it mounted right now. So I guess we'll start at the front here and work our way to the back. So yeah, I got a couple nets on there in the handles. I find they work really well to hold the nets, and they're always really they're right there available to grab, right? So I've got a fish net and a bait net. Flies, minnows, leeches. I've been getting a lot of leeches out of this lake. On the fishing in this lake, I didn't get a single bite the first day, and then the second day I got one bite and it turned into a 3-pound trout. Roughly a 3-pound trout, I don't know. Couldn't find my scale. But anyways, and then I didn't get another bite for like 3-4 days. So they're out there, but they've got so much food in the water that like they don't even rise very much. And when they do rise, like I got that trout off a grasshopper down at that end of the lake. The grasshoppers are jumping all over, and the wind picks up and blows them right into that little area there, and it's pretty hard to get them, I find. Anyways, so fishing's not great, but I did get a 3-pounder, and that's definitely my record. It's getting close to actually the biggest fish I've pulled in ever, which would be a pike from when I was a kid, really big pike, I think. I don't remember getting anything besides that, really notably. I had a lot of ones that I lost that were huge, like leg size, but I was never able to land any of those as a kid. Anyway, so back to the boat. A couple of nets, one bait net, or sorry, yes, I'm smoking again. I've had a really bad couple of months, so this boat's kind of how I tried to make that better, and things actually got worse in a sense because of it, but not, anyways, I'm smoking again for a bit. It's just the way it is. Got a couple of nets, bow line, just clipped in with this Velcro webbing and a clip, so it's nice and easy to access. And then this is basically the basis of most of my mods on this boat, and this stuff's called E-Track. You can see I use it on my truck. I use it on my truck everywhere. Like everywhere. I use it on my trailer, I use it on my truck. I love this stuff. So I use it on my boat. Now, the problem with using it on these plastic boats, especially in warmer temps, is if you have load on it in warmer temp, the plastic itself gets pretty soft and then the rivets are pulling through. So I've got to split the hull and back these. If I were to do this over again, I would actually put full length of E-Track and just do it like that, because I find that like on my oar locks, having 4 rivets on the bottom and 4 on the top for a total of 8 with that span, the oar locks don't pull out at all. But meanwhile, where you've only got a couple of rivets, it's not enough to actually keep it secure. So if I went and put a whole track in, then it would probably not need any backing, and it would be about the same weight as if you split the hull and put backing behind all your little small spots, right? Except you'd have more versatility insofar as where you can set up your oars or where you're carrying cargo. The only thing I like about having this gap, and I kind of did this on purpose, is I can put a box here, and it kind of sits on this lip a bit, and it's tied in with this. So I probably actually will do that for demonstration purposes here. If I have a box easily. Yeah, I do. Okay, we'll get to that after. But anyway, so basically, yeah, I can cargo this boat right out. However, I can't really go back and do that, and I'll show you why in a little bit. So, that's more or less the front corner here. We've got an emergency cutaway knife for the anchor system, and what I usually use on cleaning fish. And then my grab lines are on this E-track too, which I can just unclip, tighten the rope if it gets slack and stretches or whatever. I can just move the knot up a little bit. And I can take them right off if I don't want them on for some reason. It's pretty decent like that. So then we have a throw bag, because I'm often on public waters where there's a bunch of other people and you never know, right? The end of my tie lines, I basically fed into themselves and then taped off, and I get an extra loop out of that. My fish line and my throw bag go to that one on that corner. And then also, before we get moving too far here, this is my push pole. And I know a lot of people don't like these little pockets for rods, but I find that, obviously, I find them handy for other things. So I'm actually kind of wish that they had them on all four corners, but whatever, this is good. And I mean, sure, this could break if you forced it, but I'm finding that it's okay just doing its thing on a normal basis. And with this boat, I find that it's kind of important to have a push rod. You know, I don't want to bang up my paddles too much, so a push pole rather. Okay, so coming up the boat a little bit here. These are my outside grab lines, whatever, boarding lines, or I can't remember what you call them, but man overboard lines. And then I've got my oar locks. Now, the oar lock is probably the only thing that's not finished on this boat, I think. What I'm going to do is just put a little hinged plate here, and so that'll stop it from having this play. It's not much, but the block of wood's so small that I can't use screws to hold it in. It'll just split, I think. So I was thinking if I could just put a hinge plate or a clip, like even wire with like little things that the wire would clip into. Just, it doesn't take much, right? Just to keep it secure. And so what these oar locks are made out of is this, which is a 2x4 holder. Let's see if I can get you a better shot here. 2x4 holder for the E-track. And this E-track stuff, get this over with right now, but basically, there's a little tab here. Oh, this one's loaded. By loaded, I mean like it's got a lot of tension on it. Grab line was caught behind it. So this little tab here lifts up, and then the whole thing slides forward or backward, whatever you want to say, and then you can just pop it out, right? And then now it's locked. So that's how that works. So I can basically take my oar locks and put them either here or here. I don't want to put them on the ends, but I can put them in either position in the middle for rowing, or I can move them out to the back for drifting. Okay, so that's super useful, and I've drifted the boat a little bit, and it works really well with the oar locks back there. And for rowing, obviously, it's good to have a backing, and you want to be kind of more towards the front, apparently, so it works, you know, when you have cargo in the back and stuff, and I've always got a dog in the boat, so it works pretty well for that, and that's why that seat's there. That seat's multi-purpose, but we'll get to that after. So, yeah, we've got the oar locks that can be moved wherever they want, and these are just cheap Scotty brand, made in Canada though. My first set broke really quick. The pin under here, the retention pin, only goes through nylon. There's no metal underneath it, so that didn't last very long at all. I wasn't particularly impressed. So this is basically, we'll get to this a little bit more after, but as you can see, this is holding my oar from moving. You can see there's another little clip in here. So that actually loops to this and then holds the oar. You'll see on the other side. Or you'll see further down the line, rather, on this side. Now to protect my oars in transit, I've got some big thick wool socks that I just fed a loop or a line through and looped it, or whatever. And that does pretty good. They're I don't know, about a centimeter thick, right? So like with the padding, and you can actually get them thicker. They're harder to find these days, so I kind of regret sacrificing them, but they work really well. So okay, coming down the line here, we've got just a spare paddle holder, and this is what I was meaning about how it loops back. The oar retention straps loop back on themselves, and then my oar doesn't go anywhere when I'm in transit on the truck. So that's pretty decent. Kind of skipped a piece here though. So this is my idea for a rod holder. Now, it's pretty, like, it'll grab the rod pretty good. But it's also pretty versatile because you can't do it so much with this one on like this. But watch this. So I'll take the rod out, unclip myself, and bring it over here. Now you're probably wondering why that, you can't see that. You're probably wondering why that's so loose, but I'll get to that after. Alright, so now we've got an outboard rod holder that I can set up straight up down like this. And it works pretty well. Obviously the oar is in the way right now, but it sinks all the way down there. It's not going anywhere once it's there. Or if I need some extra distance, I can actually put it in here, and then I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to put a couple of these on, just like a little line holder. And so long as the fish doesn't bolt out straight away from there and like jump as it's coming out, it's pretty solid. It seems to hold pretty well. Chances are the rod's going to be going like this anyways, right? Up and down. So pretty good. All I did for this though, get to the little magic happening here. So as I mentioned before, these are 2x4 holders. I'll try and set this up. Alright, so I can take this and clip it. And now I've just got a 2x4 holder, which matches up with the other. So I've got 4 of them on the boat. I've got 2 that are acting as rod holders. And then I've got 2 that are actually already acting as 2x4 holders, as you saw just before. And so that's just holding up this canopy. But if I wanted to, I could take that and turn it into a whole full-on shelter and just clip it right onto the boat, and then I'm good to go. Or if I wanted a more secure canopy, this is tent pole, aluminum tent pole. And so if I wanted something more secure than this, because obviously this is not, but it is very light, then I can use the rod holders and build something up real quick in the bush or wherever. I guess that's not really in the bush if you're on the water, but you know what I mean, in the wilds. And then I've got my messy ass bow line here, which I need to tidy up. Or sorry, stern line, I think. Could be wrong about that, but anyway, back of the boat line. Extra pulley on there, which I've never needed yet. I should actually have a couple bigger ones and not this shape. You're supposed to keep the flat ones so that you can use a prusik knot, I believe, to lock your cable in as you're pulling in. So you can pull, take a break, pull some more. Anyways, with this style, you can't. There's videos on YouTube explaining that, and I don't know that much about it, and I'm not great with knots. So just go YouTube that stuff. It's pretty neat. Oh, is this a survivor? I don't think so. Don't think so. Not a survivor. Okay. So this is the bailing bucket / dog water bowl / cleaning bowl. Like I clean the boat almost every day when I come in because it gets kind of gross inside. I almost inevitably spill coffee in it. And if I ever had to cook, then it's also a cooking utensil. Or cooking apparatus, whatever. So here, I grabbed the phone by the wrong place there. So here you can see my grab line goes through one of these, and it's just loose. And then the 10 pole just basically sits in there, and it sits really good. Oh, I just pressed the button again. Fuck. Oh, we're still alive. Okay. So as you can see, it just kind of fits in there pretty well. I would like to actually get a few of these and like bend them into exact shape and have it so that it works a little better. Right now it just kind of works. I lost one pole in the lake too, so you really got to hold on to them if you're playing with it, because it could jump out if it really has a chance to. It wants to, definitely. All right, so then the cover is just a tarp that I use to actually cover the boat when I'm in transit. It fits perfectly. It's from Canadian Tire. It's a little camping tarp. And the rips that you see here are my fault. The tarp is actually really high quality, I find. For the money, it's like 25 bucks or something, and it's really, really high quality. I've been using it for about a year through winter camping even, and there's another one here that I did yesterday. Again, my fault. I think it caught on to this or something. But no, very high quality for the money, and fits the boat exactly. So that's the Woods camping tarp from Canadian Tire. Definitely not made in Canada, but I'm pretty happy with it. Tarps are important, you know, and you get, it's your roof sometimes, so not good when they let you down or they're not up to the job or whatever. And I've had that with like truck covers and this and that. So no, I like this tarp. I recommend it. Kind of along with the E-Track stuff. It's kind of up to the job. And coming around to the front, my grab line actually hangs right off the back here. So in theory, you should be able to step onto that to get into the boat if you're having a hard time. There's a thing called the clean lines theory, or clean lines, not theory, but anyway, guidelines, whatever. That, you know, you shouldn't have anything that you can wind up sticking a hand through on your boat. And my boat is definitely not adhering to the clean lines principle. That's what it is, the clean lines principle. I'm trying to work on that. It's just I'm new to boats, and you know, all this stuff stretches too, so once it's stretched out a bunch, I'll tighten it up again and it should be a little better. I got to figure out a better way to keep this like if you're not busy when you use it and you tie it down properly, then it's not like this. But like if you're kind of just doing stuff quickly on the fly, then it becomes a bit of a mess. But you need the lines on the boat, right? All right, so in here I just took a little piece of webbing on the transom. A word I never used before 3 weeks ago that I have used about 100,000 times since. But anyways, just a little piece of webbing on the transom bolts. Oops. And this carries some extra, you know, cordage. I used this to tie on. It's a big long tie this strap. And I use that to tie on if there's other boats on the water and it's evening, because I don't have proper lighting. I do have lights, but they're just not proper, so it's just a little better. And I can use that to mark off places where I'm landing too. Then there's just a few little extras. Well, there should be a few little extras. They're not in here yet. My emergency whistle. And a little home for the scupper plug too. Oops. So I just took a some kind of a plug anyways. I can't remember what it was for exactly. And it was much longer than I needed and this and that, and I put it in, glued it in or whatever. On the other end I put the nut on and shaved it down, filed it down, and then I got a actual live well plug from Canadian Tire, and it fits perfectly. Although I've never really had it in for very long, you know, like the boat's self-draining pretty much, so that's pretty handy. Okay, so you're probably wondering what these yellow things are. So my deck, or my passenger benches, are basically, I keep saying Fisher Price, but it's not. It's called Today's Kids, and it's just a picnic table set. So this was the bench, these are the two benches. This was the tabletop. I can cast off this, no problem. I filled them with a bit of expanding foam to add some buoyancy, and it works pretty well. Then I took some garden edging, or landscaper's edging, or whatever, trimmed it down, and made rail slides for this. And again, with the rivet problem. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. I might use string or cordage and tie these ones on, because I can't really get in and back it. Another thing I was thinking of doing is using hot glue like a plug, but that's not necessarily completely reliable. You're not sure to have a proper mushroom behind the wall once it's cured, right? So you can do it, and there are guys who are really good at doing that, I think, but I've never really practiced it, so we'll see. This is one issue of my design that definitely needs to be addressed. The rivets are not working with the plastic too well, because you can't back anything, right? If you could back it, it wouldn't be a problem. Puppies, water, and then just inside here, there's some extra lines keeping things tight or loose depending on what the wind conditions are. And then this just keeps it off the dog's head. And mostly my dog sits in here while I'm fishing. Sometimes I'll hang out in there too, but it's mostly for the dog. And it's funny because that picnic table was actually sitting at a corner garbage can for like weeks until I got the boat. I saw it and I was like, I wonder if that fits. And they fit really well without the rails, but I wanted the rails just to give it a little bit of extra stability. And it was pretty funny. Like you could see even as I was grabbing, it was a perfect match. And why I say that is underneath here, you see how they have those things, and those are flush up against the walls. It's pretty much perfect. Okay, depending on where you put them on the boat, it actually gets pretty tight even. So there is a video on this, the dolly. Right now I find that this plastic box is not really cutting it. I've got to do something to reinforce it. Sorry about that. Hiccup burp. So this is the dolly. It fits into the ribbing, and you know how that kind of would go. See it better. Oh, there you can see it's 4 separate blocks. It fits into the ribbing, and it works pretty well, but it's not perfect. And overall, the weight of the boat is a little bit much for what I've put on here. The axle bent. I have to flip it today, so that way it rubs onto the boat now, which is not good. Potentially wear right through. I've seen that happen with my kayak, rubbing my bike wheel when I'm going down the road. Okay, so come around to the other side. You can see so these corner ones were mostly to be able to tie the boat down to my truck. And you can see where it's like, this one's unusable. I should even pull it off so I don't lose it. More Velcro webbing, or nylon webbing for other stuff, whatever. Little emergency Swiss Army knife, little expandable paddle. This is useless in a river, that's why lake use only. In the river, you're almost better with the push pole. This just doesn't have what it takes. Now, if you take a kayak paddle and you do a double, like a kayak strokes kneeling in the front, then it works pretty well. Oh yeah, so if I go on a river, I take my kayak paddle, which is a split paddle, and I just put one on either side and good to go. I was able to basically start cresting over whitecaps and like pick up decent speed on the lake I tried. But I wouldn't want to try and use this in the river, so that's pretty much it. Okay, so now you notice I have my oars set up differently here. So on the oars, I went and taped it off and then used truck bed liner, and it does not work that well. I sanded it, I prepped it a bit. I didn't want to take too much of the varnish off. I just wanted it to be, because I didn't want it to become, I didn't want it to lose its water seal, basically. Because otherwise then the wood starts getting soft and sloppy, right? So, yeah, I coated the edges with truck bed liner, and it's not great. I might have to redo that somehow. Now you can see from the other side, that's locked in there. And when I'm So I go out on the boat, whatever. I push off with the push pole. I row out to my spot. I drop my anchor, and then I put my oars into this lock position with both of them like that, and I can take my seat there and put it on top of the oars. And it would be good if I did something to avoid scuffing the oars up, but it works pretty well. And then I can just kind of like pick it up and turn it around whichever way I want to face. It eliminates the weight of a swivel and all the other stuff, and it's so not stable, so you're definitely not relaxing enough to fall off. But it works. You can relax enough to fish and not put your back out or whatever ails you. And this one seat is actually 2 seats put together because it didn't have any backing, so I took the base or the pad off the other seat and just put it over the back. And then I took more of this liner, the landscaping liner, whatever it's called, and that just makes it so that the seat can lock in wherever it happens to be, provided you're sitting on it, because it is only on the front, right, and the weight's on the back, so it's easy enough for the seat to kind of move. So it's not a lock, but when you're sitting in it and you're rowing, it locks really nicely. And then the same thing with this. I just took a whole piece of that liner, cut off a little bit of the lip there, and then taped some leather to it. And that is basically for my heels, because rowing with your heels on this plastic sucks, like really badly. It's like borderline painful after a while. I did a 20-kilometer row a while back when my oar lock popped, and man, I like had blisters on my heels that I didn't think would be possible from just rowing, right, sitting down and rowing. But anyways, so now I've got the pad, and it works fairly well. Could be tweaked a little bit, like there's not much to push on. What I found though is that the little rise here gives you quite a bit to push on, and even though that you're keeping most of your heel kind of here, just that little bit is quite a bit enough. Maybe not in a river, I don't know, but here it's all right. And then so we got a little bait jar here. For the Canadian viewers, this is just a well, you'll recognize it. It's a pot like marijuana jar. I don't know, 3.5 or 1/4 or something. Fits the bass reader perfectly. And this is just a little ashtray because I'm smoking again. And why have that shit floating around in the bottom of the boat, or any of that? And a lid's good because the wind picks up, right? So then obviously, well, here, hold on, I'll get to that after. So this is actually so that I can put my push pull on the side and it'll lock in, and it works all right. I had to basically take one of these and tweak it so that I can get like the side angle to it, but it works fairly well. And then I just use it to hang my anchor, well, to secure my anchor if I want. Now on the anchor ones, I oriented all my locks facing down, because you're going to be having any force facing down, right? So if you want to emergency unclip, you're going to go like that, right? So all the anchor clips should face down if you're kind of looking to copy this or emulate this design or this idea. And then I've got a little kind of outrigger for my anchor, just because I have a couple of these little burns from where I was hauling it up. So I put this on there, and that works fairly well. And originally I had made it so it can fold up and sort of stow out of the way. But the problem with that is then when you're trying to haul your anchor in, then it folds up and you're back to square one, which doesn't work very well. But basically that's just one of these E-track things with a pulley on it. And then I just shave the pulley to fit there. And you kind of have to orient the pulley the right direction. I'd like to fix that. I'd like to shave this down so that you can lift the clip easier. And then I'll just put a tab so that it can't, well, you can't see that. I'll put a tab in there so that it can't actually fold up anymore. So it'll have less clearance on the bottom, but it'll shift that clearance up, or shift that blocking tab up to the top. And that should allow me to release it a little quicker, so I've got that same sort of idea, quick release on there, because the way this is right now, I basically have to fiddle with it till I find the right spot. I'm not even sure where that spot is right now. But anyways, yeah. this needs to be tweaked. But aside from that, it seems to work pretty well when it stays in place. I did bring it out last night, but I just did some more work on it this morning. I put in these washers so that it can't slip in behind, or sorry, beside that. Oops, beside the locking hinge tab thing. Yeah, there. So I just use these washers to center that. So it's a little bit more stable this morning, and then I'd actually also like to weld a little tab just in here to stop this from having so much side to side. I don't know, maybe if that's not a good thing. It might be good for it to have that play, but what I really don't like actually is that it goes back and forth and then it binds up the pulley wheel. So even if it doesn't go side to side so much, I just want it to kind of stop doing this. So welder's probably coming out soon. On my cleat, again, just used some E-track. And then bought a cheap metal cleat and then riveted that. I welded a little plate onto the E-track through. This is a E-track strap clip, like the orange straps there that I showed you for the or retainers. And I cut the strap out, and then I welded a little piece of metal in, and then I just riveted the cleat to that metal. You'll probably notice under a lot of these, there's a little rubber pad, and that's to avoid this side to side, because that gets real annoying real quick on the water, and I'm sure other people don't love it either. Let's see, here's another one of those burns from the rope. It goes really deep really quick. That's not good. So anyways, yeah, so that avoids any side to side on the cleat. Well, most of the side to side on the cleat. If you're doing this, you could actually just weld in some like angle iron or whatever, and then you would be solid. It's like stabilized, whatever. I would suggest you do it kind of more just in the center, because you do have to sometimes play with these to get them off. So you might want to have to like angle things or whatever. So you want to leave the ends some freedom to move. And again, here, my anchor bag underneath the minnow net is clipped onto one of those loops from the grab line. Works pretty well. So the reason why I can't go back and change my design now is because of this. So this took me a day to do, and this is all plastic welded in. And then I finished off with a Dremel, and you can actually see where I kind of got tired of working with the Dremel, and I started touching the plastic a bit, which is kind of too bad, but it should eventually kind of just wear itself out and look better like this. But nothing's gonna grab, or oh, there's a little bit of a grab there. Nothing's gonna grabs. All right, anyway, nothing's really gonna grab there. I mean, insofar as sticks or gear or whatever, it's pretty well in there. And if anybody were ever to try and steal this boat, they'd have to pretty much cut that out somehow. It would leave a huge mark. It would be impossible to fake that. What else? I think that's more or less it. What else did I want to add to this video? Okay, so people with the green bass raiders, this is a Reliance water can. I use these a lot. So I had one to sacrifice, and it's very, very close to the right color. So I'll show you a couple spots. And there's one. I didn't finish it very well because I knew it'd be hidden up there. Basically, that was like holes that somebody put for a fish finder or something. But then somebody had been hanging a large motor off the transom on the road, I think, on a truck, and so it got cracks in both corners. And that is a lot of welding. Like that is a lot of material that I put into there, and it's holding up really well. And like the color is not that bad. I mean, you can see it's different, but if you actually took sandpaper and then finished this off, smoothed it out to get around the same texture, you might have to use some heat after to get that ripple. But it would probably look almost perfect. And there's the bottom of my scupper plug. I don't like dragging this thing around at all. I will not drag it if I can avoid it. If I have to move it over a couple of feet, then I pick one end up. Oops. I pick one end up, I bring it over, I pick the other end up, and I bring it over. And I find that while it handles dragging fairly well, actually, for the most part, if you get one little rock that's, I can't show you here because of the angle it's on, but if you get one little rock that's just the right spot, it can take a strip right out of the boat. And I've got a couple of them. And that's just from like landing a little bit harshly and also dragging it around. You can fix those. It's not terrible. There's a good one. That's a good strip coming out right there. And that's not great. So I don't like dragging this boat around a lot. So I've got that dolly. The dolly's not working perfectly. I might have to rebuild or redesign it. But I think that's pretty much it. Well, I can show you also. So normally the seat is back here when I'm rowing, and I'm rowing in that direction. So I'm rowing backwards. But if I get into shallows or stuff that, you know, for whatever reason I want to see where I'm going, just put the seat here. So it's not going to stay up. Put the seat here and then shift this to there. And now I'm rowing forward from the front of the boat, sort of. Well, from the center, but like the oars are positioned at the front. So that's not too bad. And that's actually kind of nice when you're hunting minnows and leeches. And then I can even put it up here if I want. And yesterday I had it back there. I had my neck on here and my back on there, and I was basically like it didn't break. I think it flexed a little bit or something, but it was really comfortable considering that it's not, you know, and your neck's not supposed to be at that angle either, but it was all right. The dog gets up there and falls asleep right away. Like it's hilarious. And then, you know, it's like, I don't know. So one of my dogs passed away. I don't know if I had mentioned that in one of my other videos, but I think she's kind of feeling a bit of a depression from that. She just sleeps a lot, but on the boat, unless I say like, hey, there's a turtle or there's another dog on a boat or we got a fish, she does not care. Oh, there we go. Or a lot. Yeah, that's not good. So see, I've got a popped rivet down here, and this is actually one of my oarlock tracks, so that's not good. And the popping the rivets along the bottom here is almost all because of this. So the cord gets in between, and it's just enough. It's just enough to get in there and start working the rivet out. I wonder if the other side's like that. So the E-track's great, but you got to find a way to back it. Now you could use blind threading rivets, I think. I couldn't find any. I've never used them before either, so I mean, I don't know if they would actually work or not, and I don't understand how you'd get them in there. Even though I'm a service guy, it's not something I've ever bothered using. I wanted to get a nice set years ago for you know, modding and stuff, but never really did. See, there's a bit strip down here. Now, in theory, you should be able to take a heat gun and like a little putty knife and just basically melt that back in. But you want to avoid that. If you want to avoid using heat on these too much, you can, but every time you do, you diminish the strength a little bit. So yeah, that's my Pelican Bass Raider Rhino, and yeah, it works pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. I can load it on the truck myself, fully loaded in full configuration like this. And you know, like, as you can see, there's no visibility right now because the province is on fire. But yeah, I can load that up on the truck in a few minutes notice, not a problem. And move it around, you know, I bring it up every night from the lake. A couple nights ago I loaded it on the truck overnight just because the fire risk with all the people that were here, being the weekend and whatnot. But I mean, I can bring it all the way up here, no problem. Go down the road, go down that way, and it's probably somewhere in the 160, 170 pound range when it's got all this stuff on and both the water cans are full. I don't know, because they say the boat's like 140, but you know, you add 30 pounds of stuff onto it. So I'm thinking it's got to be somewhere in the 150, 160 range. But you don't really notice it loading it up, I don't find, because it's got the handles and it, like when you pick one end up and place it on, and then you just pick up the other end, and it almost wants to load itself just because of how the balance works on it. So not bad, and like I said, I'm pretty happy with it. I really got this boat for the dog. I used to use kayak for boating purposes. Then the one dog passed away, and I didn't want to leave the other dog by herself all the time, so that's where we're at with that. And she loves it, so Kuma's boat is a success. I don't think I have anything else to add to this. I've been kind of rambling for a few minutes. Sorry, another burp hiccup. Kind of rambling for a few minutes, and I don't really think I have anything to add. If you have any questions about the process or, excuse me, any of the aspects of it, then hit me up in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer you. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.